Welcome back, everyone, to Noob to Weeb. I am your Weeb, Matthew Roe.
And I'm your Noob, David Short.
Every 2 weeks, I choose an anime that David has not seen.
And you gotta save her.
Too slow, Jack. She's full of tentacles now.
Oh, man.
This week, Dark Cat, an obscure single-shot OVA based off the even more obscure 10-volume manga series by Naomi Kimura, where Arutsuka Doji seems to meet Yu Yu Hakusho and fails to succeed in either arena. Produced by Agent 21 and Nikatsu Corporation, which actually went belly up not long after this release. It was directed by Iku Suzuki and written by Toshiki Inoue. So David, please synopsis what you can for us, because I know that's going to be a little tough.
You kidding me? This is
simple. This is the easy stuff.
It's just more obnoxious than difficult. So there's a prologue. Ghost girls turning people into ants. But forget about that because it's literally not important to anything. Main story. 2 cats that are actually shape-shifting people, that are actually reformed demons, are fighting the demons that are still evil. One of the cats is quote-unquote protecting a high school girl who is sick and voiced by a 50-year-old, but she's in love with a childhood friend who's all depressed because his crush turned him down. You know, typical high school stuff.
Typical.
By the way, both these cats can turn into people whenever they want, and they're enrolled at the same high school as the girl and the boy. So after one of the teachers starts laying down the moves on the younger cat brother by exploding into a writhing mass of penises, they fight, run into the woods, and meet up with Coconut, the Demon King. He turns evil people into penis monsters. That's his shtick. So the Cat's brothers fight him, and Big Cat gets hurt, so he has to be healed by the trees that's guarded by a white cat, obviously.
Of course. So simple.
The human boy is picked on by bullies at school, and so the girl swears that she would do anything for the boy. Anything. Even kill. That's when the bullies end up turning into penis monsters themselves, though, and it's all on the younger cat brother to knock their asses out. Turns out that the human girl is turning evil too. Turning evil because of love. Love is evil. That's your moral. She turns into a giant penis monster, and the younger cat has to take her on while older cat battles King Coco Krispies in his saber-tooth form. The human boy turns off his My Chemical Romance and tells the girl that he loves her too, and they go to heaven, and Derek Jacobi's temporarily defeated. Some cliffhanger about how there's 9 more volumes, but fuck that, we're not doing it.
There's thankfully nothing of that. We don't need any of that, really.
We don't need any of that.
First thing, off the top of my head,
yeah,
and I did a little bit more poking around while you were giving your synopsis there.
Good to know you weren't listening.
Oh, I was listening. Got one ear on that shit. But the thing is, though, okay, the people who made Dark Cat,
yes,
Iku Suzuki was the director, Toshiki Inoue is the screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
The character design was done by Masami Suda, and the animation director was Hirohide God, I can never pronounce his name. Shikishima. Blah. But
that's a lot of consonants.
Yeah, Shikishima. Sorry. And the thing is with Suda and Shikishima as well, they've worked on so much shit. Suda was a character designer on Fist of the North Star. He also did, City Hunter, and Burst Angel, Desert Punk, Decision, Lupin the Third. Shikishida also he did a whole bunch of key animation for Excel Saga, Dragon Ball, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the 2012 version. They're full of all this crazy amount of stuff, and then also Inoue is the one who he was the main writer of Chaos Head. He wrote for Case Closed. He was the main writer for fucking Death Note. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because this fucking OVA is garbage. All right, so, David.
Yeah.
Having said that, to spur us off there.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you say those names again?
I could, but nah. All right, moving on. I know the answer to this question already before I ask it, but at the same time, it's what we have to ask first.
Yep.
Are there any characters that stick in your mind at all?
Full characters, no. Moments from characters, yes.
What moments from characters that you kind of have stick out the most? I have a couple, but I want to definitely hear yours first.
Obviously, we watched the dub. It's readily available on YouTube for anyone who wants to seek it out. But just the absurd lines, the lines that have no place in these sorts of like serious battles and stuff like the Demon King, as he leaves battle, screams back "Ta ta for now."
It's like a Bond villain.
The introduction of the human boy who the girl has a crush on. The very first lines are, "I'm just really tired and depressed," in the most monotone, non-emotive voice I've ever heard in my life.
Everything is awful. Life's a bitch and then you die.
Exactly. And none of those characters, literally, my entire description, the only one that has a name is the Demon King, and even that's hard to remember. And that's only because they were shouting it every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
None of the characters' names made any impact on me whatsoever.
Takaka!
Kakarot! When it comes down to individual characters, no, none of them. Like, don't get me wrong, character design-wise, like, if you were to show me their pictures, I could tell you their role in the story, at least right now. I can't say what it would be even 2 weeks from now. But when it comes down to what did this character do in the plot, I could say, I'm pretty sure they did this, this, and this. But you know for a fact, as I was writing that recap, I had to go in and check how the final battle started.
Yeah.
There was nothing about that stuck in my mind. I was just like, shit, and then they started fighting. Why'd they start fighting? Turns out it was because the one girl was kidnapped. Oh, well, that clearly made an impact.
I couldn't get this sneaking suspicion out of my head, and honestly, I think that I'm kind of validated with the information that I have. And I made my joke a little early in the very beginning here, where I was like, it definitely has elements of Urotsuki Doji in it, and I looked at Urotsuki Doji's original manga publication.
Oh, was it the same?
It came out a couple of years before Dark Cat did. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that there's more elements around it that are more in line with Urotsuki Doji than probably just being a kind of spiritual inspiration is the fact that the main beast, was it Jakku from Urotsuki Doji?
Oh, yeah.
His design looks like it's completely cribbed in Hyoi's design. The way that because he's got like the spiky kind of weird horned hair, and he's got like the cat-like features on his face and stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, I see it too closely. Now maybe I'm making a stretch. Maybe I am making a bit of a jump here. But the idea behind Hyoi and like this smooth talking master at fighting these penis monster things is like, and he's just cool and collected about it and whatnot. And even when he gets injured, it's not really that much of a setback somehow.
Yeah, he literally, his entire back was slashed by a giant claw, and he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm fine.
Well, here we go. Here's a sword, right down the middle. And I think, as much as I'm not a fan of Urotsuki Doji, I do recognize it is far better made than this.
See, for me, I thinking back on it, if I were to rewatch this, just like without even Japanese subs, although I do think that'd be a massive improvement.
Probably, yeah.
If I were to just watch this muted, just looking at the animation quality, I would think it's poor by modern standards, but thinking back to early 90s, late 80s, it's generally not that terrible.
I don't know, man. There was a lot of really strong voice acting that was already happening in the 90s with redubbing.
No, I'm not talking about voice acting. Voice acting totally separate. I'm saying strictly animation-wise.
Oh, strictly animation, okay.
Yeah, strictly animation-wise, I think that...
It's a cheap 90s anime.
It's cheap 90s, but like all of like the penis monster stuff was very fluid. It had it's all put in the wrong places.
That's where they saved all the money for.
Yeah, but that's the sort of thing where I think that as a thing of its time, I think that it was entirely passable. My problems come with the voice acting, and that's what brings it down. Well, I should say voice acting and audio mixing as a whole, but that might just be where and how we watched it.
And I need to make a correction. The Katsu Corporation, the guys who were the production company behind Dark Cat, went belly up afterwards. Turns out that's not the case. Apparently,
Oh.
they were part of the production behind like the Gantz live action movies in 2011. So I think that's definitely not the right information.
It might
but,
just be their animation section went belly up. Same way Warner Brothers
I
animation.
mean, honestly, there's only so much information we can gather from Western sites too.
Yeah.
We believe us, guys. We also went onto like the Japanese wiki trying to find information.
I learned katakana.
Just in one night, and it was just trying to find information on the original manga that this was based on, and we were able to find it on some random site like for sale for like $10.
Yeah.
Like, this shit has not been translated into English, not by a long shot. That's why I find the fact that the OVA anime was translated into an English dub and released. I'm like, was there really enough of a market for this movie in Western English-speaking countries that this dub needed to happen?
Are you asking whether Western audiences had enough tentacles? Because I can guarantee you the answer is always no.
Well, it's funny because Orotsuki Doji, when they combined all 3 OVAs and they released them, that one apparently was a bit of an underground hit in the United States. So I guess it did open up a market for that type of fly-by-night ADR production. And by the way, the ADR production for this anime is called Planet to Planet Recording Studio, and all they did was a bunch of sleazy straight to like video OVAs for the most part. And good on them. Good on them. So when it goes back to the series here, because for me, there's not a hell of a lot here.
No.
I can't even really talk that much about animation quality because there was so much of this that were just solid images against kind of like flowing like backgrounds. Is there any part from the animation besides a couple of the fluid moments from the penis monsters that really kind of stand out for you?
Let me be clear. I don't regard the penis monsters as the highlights. I'm not going to bed with a smile on my face.
Highlights of the animation quality, and that's really not saying all that
Right.
much.
I mean, there's a couple things I remember, but I can't say I remember because they're good. Like,
Well, it doesn't have to be good. It could be pure trash too.
yeah, I mean, it was just like the parts where they transform into humans from their cat form and they go full animorphs for a little bit there. I don't know. It's the problem of I'm viewing it from a modern lens where, we just finished watching the 2012 JoJo in
Yeah.
the previous episode, and that's just like, oh man, it's still got some of these flair, but it's so modern looking. And now going back on this, and there's that part where the flashbacks use that camera lens on the old iOSs where it just
Yeah.
like zoomed in a lot into a small little circle, and it's like, wow, that looks like shit.
It reminded me of Space Thunder Kids.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
shot where it's just like, constantly twisting the images like,
As a product of the times, I can accept it as the animation it is. It had a few good moments in, yes, the penis monsters, but it generally had a lot of bad moments too, in terms of, I made clear that I'm not a huge fan of the completely still frame except for the mouth moving. That's always a pet peeve for me. And this had a lot of that, but that was
Yeah.
just the way it was done
A lot
back
of budget-saving animation, that's what we call that.
then. Yeah, so I understand its necessity, but I don't enjoy its presence. I'd say probably the most impressive part of this as a whole was literally up until the title sequence. You had the prologue with like the lightning that was zapping people out, and it jumped right the fuck into that.
Yeah. And that shit just kind of like fell off after that. I wanted to see more people kind of just getting shocked.
Yeah,
shocked out of existence.
It looked good. Like the lightning, it was only there for a second, but it was a decently well animated bit. It worked. And then the title sequence came up, and it was a decently animated title sequence. And then as soon as it went away, everything was just kind of trash.
Hooked you in, and now it's just kind of dropping the ball.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to, we usually get into music quality and stuff like that, but the problem is with this is that a lot of the background audio is missing. There's a lot of missing either music tracks or sound effects tracks,
Yeah.
or whatever it might happen to be. A lot of ambient tracks. There's no type of atmosphere created
No.
in a lot of these scenes, or at least in most of the
It's
sequences.
not even, you are underselling it to the audience. Audience, there is some music played, there are some sound effects, but for the vast majority of fight scenes when they are crashing through windows, destroying desks, and having all these slash attacks and massive anime jumps, there is no sound effects, period. It is all down to the voice acting track of
And I love how, like, when the guy's getting, like, beaten around and shit, it just sounds like it's just one solid audio track of the guy just going
I had to close my door for this, guys. Come on.
No, it just gets in, and like we usually just kind of go and save like the voice acting for the last bit here, but
this is what broke it.
This is what broke it, and this is also one of the things that kept me watching, honestly, because if the sound design was good and if the voice acting was good, the tentacle scenes would be a lot harder to watch.
Yeah.
But because the voice acting is as bonkers and as ridiculous that as it is, it's like I said on the last episode, it's like Garzy's Wang, where it's just the worst possible voice dubbing, making it just the most enjoyable sit. This is not like Ghost Stories, where all that shit was just like this irrelevant non sequiturs and all that kind of stuff was made on purpose. This was just bad through and through, and it has that earnestness to it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think that if this had good voice acting, it would have been a disservice because it would have only boosted it to an average anime instead of a so bad it's good almost quality.
This anime is extraordinarily notorious,
right?
Even though it's obscure, it's kind of like among anime heads, this thing kind of goes around with Garzy's Wang, and
it's the Star Wars Christmas special where
pretty much
not a lot of people have heard of it, but if you have, oh boy, you know.
You absolutely do. And considering the talent, I have to remind myself that, this was 91. A lot of these people were like very fresh in their careers. Inoue had not done Death Note, and Death Note was in 2007. Yeah. So that was another 16 years, and that would actually come into play.
But how much can people really improve over 16 years?
Quite a bit, apparently. And I don't know how much of the English dub follows the original Japanese script. So
that was the one thing I did kind of pass over, was that this was apparently, from what we gathered, based off of like either the first volume or the first arc of the manga. Mm-hmm. And there are a total of 10 volumes.
I don't know how they can continue the story for 10 volumes.
It probably strikes me as a Monster of the Week sort of situation where it's just Cocoa Krispies summoning a new demon that's gonna fuck with them for a while.
Well, like I said when we were watching it, it's like it reminded me a lot of Pet Shop of Horrors.
Right.
Animation style partially, and the character models especially. But at the same time, yeah, it was like the Monster of the Week, almost incidental actions happening simultaneously. It's just a lot of crazy shit happening. And we just so happen to have one character that happens to be in the epicenter of it all.
I mean, to be fair, they did explain that he was their old mentor, and they are specifically seeking him out in order to defeat him. So it's not...
Well, it was incidental at first. Like, they didn't find the guy until, like, almost halfway through the damn thing.
Yeah, and they seemed pretty surprised, weren't they? They were like, oh, it's you!
Yeah, and then afterwards, they're like, oh, of course. I'm like... Well, which one is it?
They seem to have a spider sense sort of thing of like, ooh, there's evil afoot, and they just happen to be in the area of the most evil guy.
The most evil guy. My evil sense is tingling.
There was that point where the completely non-consequential girl, which I didn't even bother to mention, she's walking through the rain while the older cat brother's holding an umbrella over her, and his spider sense goes off, and he just fucking leaves her in the rain.
Yeah.
While she's confessing her feelings to him.
Oh my god. Like, the teenage drama in this is one of the things that was so not important to any aspect of it. There was no reason for the brother, there was no reason for him to be in the fucking school in the first place.
No.
Like, it served no purpose.
I'm wondering if this school was like a central point for later things, because the bad guy, the evil Coconut King, was a teacher there or a professor or something in his humanoid form. So I'm wondering if this is just sort of like they keep going until they find out, like, wait a minute, Senator Palpatine, you're the evil Sith Lord?
Well, and I would be more willing to accept that if they had set that up at all. There's no inclination that this school is the epicenter of what's happening to these people.
No, and I frankly could see it going either way of them also, if there were to be another OVA, or if this goes exactly as the manga went, of it being like, okay, and now they're just in a different city, and some other kid is wrapped up in this.
Rinse, wash, and repeat.
Yep.
David, so if we have to give this OVA a rating on a scale of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I'm just bouncing back and forth in my head. Is it so bad it's good quality? On its own as an anime of like, if you, I don't know how the sub is. Maybe the sub is fantastic with its sound effects and music, but I can't say that for sure. So the version that I saw, the dubbing with terrible audio mixing and some of the worst voice cast I've ever seen, which, speaking of which, did mention the dude who talks like this and is super sad and depressed, he's credited as autofocus. Clearly someone did not want to be attached to this project after it came out. But I have to say it's probably not so bad it's good territory. So I'm going to have to give this just the straight 1 star.
I'm right there with you.
It's just not good. Like, nothing about it, from the story it's telling to the character it has to its action, none of it is like, wow, you can tell that's really where they put their money. All of it is just like, cool, so you guys were doing that thing from the producers, right? That's I wish I had some sort of thing that I could point to and say like, no, this is the reason why. But no, it's just an all-around abject failure of, it's just not interesting. Nothing about it is interesting at all.
It's just a boring slog through bad.
The closest it gets, as terrible as it sounds, is the part where they go inside the writhing penis monster that is the girl with the crush, and they're naked. And you're like, oh, are we maybe going to get something that at least is visually like, hey, but no. We don't. Fucking pointless.
It was a poignant moment. It was a poignant moment between two people.
It was a poignant moment that we were immediately like, okay, but it's ruined by his voice actor being like, hey, it's okay now. I love you.
We'll be together forever, for eternity.
Yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. This one's a straight 1 star for me. It does not enter in the so bad it's good territory whatsoever. There was a couple of moments where the line readings were really funny, but and a couple of the line like, hopefully we'll get rid of my asthma. No, that's not how this goes. And then there's of course when Cocoa Krispies were just like, now you must die. A couple of those lines were pretty funny.
Oh yeah,
but it's not like the other anime of that particular ilk where it's just a non-stop hilarious ride because there's just complete ineptitude everywhere. This one just feels it feels cheap, and it feels cheap not only in the performance category but also in every element of the production. It does not feel like there was a whole lot of time, effort, or resources dumped into this. This feels very much like a very quick, almost like punk album, down and dirty cash grab to just get it done and get it out there.
Looking at it from an outside perspective, how big was the demand for this OVA really? Because not just bringing it into Western audiences, but for Japan as well. I mean, we can't find anything about this at all.
Yeah, and even with some of the more obscure mangas or OVAs that we've come across, we're still able to find information somewhere about them. I'm not even saying necessarily that we need to have like an English translation of the manga or anything like that, but I'm just like, the manga itself, there are so many manga sites out there that is devoted to scanning manga and putting it online. Not a solitary one has done that.
Nope.
Not the one that we could find anyway. And as a result of that, like I can't see any comparisons between the manga and the anime to see if it's even close to what the original character models were.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's just a complete mess. It's not a fun time. There was a couple of laughs, but other than that, it's very forgettable. I don't understand why this is notorious as it is. And I think that I'm going to forget this after a couple of episodes of Noob David, and we probably won't ever really come back to it. If somehow we manage to wrap back around to like this production company or anybody who was involved with this, we'll probably cover some more of Planet to Planet Recording Studio, because some of the OVAs that they have in there look just downright delightful.
Fantastic. I'm so happy.
Including the one that's called Countdown to Delight, which doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good at all.
Are you sure that's not for our sister show on Patreon?
Probably. All right, guys. So thanks everyone for listening. Thankfully, nothing of Dark Cat can be continued.
Hooray!
I'm not learning Japanese to read the manga. So let us know your thoughts in the comments section, along with any other anime we should cover. All of our socials and our Patreon are down in the script. And we'll catch you guys next time when we'll be discussing one of the hypest, most non-stop action thrill rides ever animated. And also one that is I hold very close to my heart. The 2006 series Black Lagoon.
Oh, I've heard of that one. That's the one about the pirates. I like One Piece. We can do that.
Remy can kick Luffy's ass right the fuck out the water. Get watch your goddamn fucking mouth.
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.